podcast right here on the Bleav Podcasting Network, live on YouTube and on X at the moment as well. I'm Jeff Balke, along with Mike Stanton, my co-host, as always. Um, Been an interesting few days for the Astros. Some
Yeah.
some injury issues, some home runs in Sacramento. I mean, the very fact they're playing in Sacramento is already. I mean, it's weird. Like the stadium's weird. The whole vibe of the A's playing there is
Yeah.
weird. It's all
Even
super
the
weird,
lighting. I mean, the
dude.
first game, it wasn't an Astros game. First game I
No,
saw in
Tampa Bay,
Sacramento,
right?
I was like,
Oh,
you know what? This looks like an open air stadium from like the 90s.
it's
I
like
the,
it's like
it's
Steinbrenner Field, like the where the
yeah,
Rays are
right.
playing. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. It's like you watch it on camera, you're like, what
That's a
exactly?
that's a little different. It's a little blast from the past.
If you ever watch like a college basketball game that's not in like one of the huge like Rupp Arena or one of
Right.
those, and then you watch like a game that's in a good arena or in like the NBA, same
Mhm.
thing. It's like a
Yeah.
totally different experience. Like
Right.
the lighting is just, and same thing goes in baseball. It's so interesting. But the thing that's amazing to me is Astros pitched some guy named Jason Alexander yesterday. Now, as the only Jason Alexander I know is the one that played George Costanza on Seinfeld.
That's right.
And
That's right.
who, by the way, happens to be the uncle of a friend of mine, weirdly enough.
Okay.
Um, so I mean, look, Lance McCullers went out. He had some freak injury to his ankle or something that happened in the locker room or in the weight room, I guess. And now it seems like right now the Astros could put virtually anyone on the mound and have success. I don't know how they're doing it, frankly.
Well, I think what you really have to give credit to is the player development of the Astros organization. That whether you're a guy that has, crazy high end stuff or you're just the consummate pitcher,
Yeah.
that they get you ready for the big leagues. They
Yeah.
keep things simple with the ideas of what you have to do to be successful, which is number one is throw strikes.
Yes.
I've always said young pitchers have an advantage over veteran lineups if they can get ahead in the count
Yeah,
because
you do mention that.
yeah, because big league hitters don't like, especially veteran big league hitters, don't like to face guys that they don't have a track record against. They don't know what
Right.
the release point is. They don't know what the movement on the fastball is. They don't know how deep does the slider dip or how far does the sweeper sweep or whatever.
Right.
And if you can throw strikes, you may get through the lineup twice before they even figure it out. And by
That's a good
then,
point.
you're middle of the game and who knows what's going on.
Yeah, it's a really good point you make on that because I think I don't, it seems to me that anytime you introduce something that's new and sort of odd
Mhm.
into, especially in baseball, where you get so used to certain things that it is going to make it more difficult for people, and maybe that'll catch up to them. Once they've been, people get some tape on them, as they like to
Yeah.
say.
Well, the team that has done this has been notorious for this for years and years has been the Tampa Bay Rays.
Right.
They have been known for taking players off the scrap heap and making something of themselves, especially pitchers. Getting somebody that maybe just has a really good slider and all of
Right.
a sudden they're a, bona fide leverage reliever in the big leagues when they've never been able to do it before. The Astros have kind of been known for that also.
Hmm.
But I just have to go back to, what is making these guys successful. And it's not relying on stuff. It's relying on location, moving the ball around, changing speeds. And it's a little bit different because when you send a guy like Alexander out there, what are you really looking for? You're looking for 5 innings.
Yep.
Now, if he gave you a little bit more than that, he kept you in
Yeah.
the game, only gave up 3 runs. All good. But you're really just looking for him to go out there and just, keep it 3 runs or fewer and get me as far as you can go. And he did a
Right.
nice job last night.
Yeah. It's when you see these
Helps when you
guys
get
are.
run support too.
Well, that's what I was going to say, and I want to hit on that because look, apparently everyone likes playing in Sacramento when it comes to hitting home runs.
Every offensive player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every offensive player loves it. Yeah, from coming from a pitcher. Yes.
Correct.
So the interesting thing about it last night was Christian Walker got a home run, which is his 10th, which was cool to see because he's still hitting in the low 200s.
Right.
Cam Smith had two and one an
Right.
absolute monster shot. Um, and it just 4 hits total. And Cooper Hummel got on the board with one.
Yep.
Um,
Dubon hit one with
Dubon, yeah,
Jordan's bat.
yeah, with Jordan's bat. We were talking about that. Those two guys are adorable. Like
Yeah,
they really,
they
those
are. They're
guys,
funny.
they
They're
are
fun to
super
watch.
funny playing dominoes together and hanging out. I think that listen, you brought this stat up last time. Something that I have mentioned to numerous people since we
Mhm,
had this about how if the Astros score 4 runs or more, they're 800. If they
mhm.
score less than that, they were I don't know how many 12 and 36 or whatever the hell it was.
Right. Which actually 12 is actually a pretty good number for that
Right,
stat.
but
But the problem is it's over
crazy,
half your games. You've
right?
scored three runs or fewer.
It's just to me it's crazy that that number. And so when and we know from the Astros as an organization that like many organizations they value the extra bases, right?
Sure.
That's
Well,
they really want to
it's the league.
elevate.
It's
They
the league.
really want to elevate
It's
the
home
game.
runs.
Yes.
You know, the three true outcome at bats, and the biggest one is a home run. And the three true
Right.
outcomes, what I think that's strikeout, walk, home run.
Right.
I think are the three
That's
the
right.
three outcomes. And that's kind of what and that's why we've had rules that have been put in place by our fearless leader, our commissioner, uh, Rob Manfred, over the last several years, where limiting the shift and
Yeah.
doing all these different, doing different things. You know, um, you can only the one that just still drives me nuts is how many pickoffs to first base. I mean,
Oh,
that's why we've had once we saw that rule in place, I mean, we saw stolen bases go through the stinking roof. And I mean, it's that you're messing with the strategy of the game, and I don't think you should be able, you should do that. But same thing with the shift, you should be able to put your defensive players wherever the heck you want to put your defensive
right.
players. Um, Teach the hitters to hit better.
Right. Well, it's a funny thing, that all of that kind of progress stuff, it's all controversial because, they played the game for a long, long time before they started making these changes. The
Sure.
truth of the matter is the game hasn't changed. The society around it has changed.
Yes.
The lack of attention span of most people and the speed at which most people pull information into their brains is
Mhm.
just completely different than it was even 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And so they're trying to adapt.
I mean,
Um,
even the pay scale. You hit home runs, you're
mhm.
going to get paid.
That
You
is,
know,
and that is
and
one,
and that's
just
but
like
that
you,
and that goes all the way back to, oh
yeah.
goodness gracious, 80s.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, even
same with
70s.
closers. Right now,
Yeah,
closers, you get paid if you get closes.
yeah, you get
Even
saves.
if you get enough saves, then you start getting paid, even if saves
Yeah,
aren't necessarily the most important stat for them.
right.
And speaking of that, Josh Hader, we haven't really talked about him very much. And can a guy like Josh Hader fly under the radar? I don't. He has been spectacularly good.
Yeah,
I mean, arguably the best closer in the American League this year. Just so solid.
yeah. Well, he's been
Um,
perfect.
yeah, exactly.
Now his
When it comes
ERA
to
is not
saves,
zero,
no,
but what his job is. His job is to convert the save, and he has
right,
done that perfectly. Has not blown a save yet. And I don't remember the last one that I think did this was former Astros Brad Lidge when the
right,
Phillies won the World Series a while back.
right.
He's the whole year he was perfect. He didn't blow a save all year, including all the way through the World Series.
Yeah, the thing that he gave up a home run the other night, and but not the save. You can tell that in these situations, like I know he said over the summer, or excuse me, over the winter, he spent some time working on, just not changing his delivery necessarily, but changing
Yeah,
sort of approaching pitches a little bit different. Like he put a little bit more emphasis on a couple of things that he hadn't before.
yeah.
And I think he just kind of refocused, it seemed like, because
Well,
last year
last
he
year
did have some problems. He did have a few
last year
issues.
he actually was very good last year, except
Yes.
for one category, and that was home runs.
Right.
You didn't. There was, geez, one or two innings that you would say they actually hit the ball on him, that he gave up,
Right.
2 or 3 or 4 hits or whatever.
Right.
But most of the time, it was the long ball.
Right.
He gave up a bunch of long balls last year. And for a closer, especially a closer with an offense that's a little bit suspect.
Right.
A lot of times it's that one run save, and obviously the long ball you get the nice BS, nice blown save out of it.
I think that, too, maybe it's just me, but watching him and watching a lot of the other relievers with the Astros, and this goes to your point about the starters too. We see a lot of different variations from the relievers,
Yeah,
which is something that talked about this before. The Astros don't just have a bunch of guys going up there and flame throwing.
right.
They have a variety of different pitchers. And I don't know about you, but I've seen more damn sweepers this year than I think I've seen in my entire existence. I mean, that pitch has become the new baby.
Well,
It seems like it's
listen,
just like,
the sweeper for some pitchers is a different pitch, but they like calling it, and it's what they
yeah,
coined this, I think, 2 years
yeah. It was a
ago.
couple of years ago. I think you're right.
And I actually was thinking that it might be, going away a little bit. No, I haven't watched as many games since I'm not covering the Astros on a daily
Hmm.
basis, so I'm not watching pitch for pitch for pitch every
Right.
every game. But um, the sweeper is a slider.
I know. Yeah, it
They
is.
just renamed it a slider. Yes, maybe the pitcher is out there and he is changing the shape of the slider a little bit. Okay, that's fine. It's still a slider. I
Right.
mean, it just gives you another little data point. But I even the pitchers that I deal with today, they'll talk about sweepers. I'm like, okay, you can call it what you want. Actually, this is funny. I had a kid one time, young kid, like probably 11. And I don't like them throwing breaking balls that early,
Yeah.
but I will teach them just so they're throwing it correctly. But most of the time, I'll tell them, okay, you know what? You have a slider now, or I usually call it a breaking ball because they'll
Hmm.
call it curveballs or whatever.
Right.
I'll say, you have a breaking ball now? Good. Okay, you don't get to use it. Only time you get to throw it is with me. You don't get to
Right.
use it in the game. We need to save
Right.
that for later. But I
Right.
asked him, I said, he goes, well, what would you call that? I said, well, I mean, I'll just call it a breaking ball. I said, but you can call it whatever you want. And he goes, okay. And without hesitation, he goes, broccoli. Wait, what? He goes, yeah, broccoli. Why broccoli? He goes, because it's nasty. You know what? That's got to stick.
That's pretty good. That's
Kid's
pretty
name was
good.
Caden, and he's
Now you
still
got to
to
call
this
it.
day. Now
You
you
got to
got
call him
that
broccoli.
has to stick.
That's his name,
That
broccoli.
is, but he did it
End of
without.
story.
It was something that just fell out of his mouth. It wasn't
So
something
good.
he thought about it because it was nasty.
Well, that's fantastic, man. What a great I would take that nickname.
Heck yeah.
Um I think with the sweeper, to me, it's really just what I'm seeing with just, from the observation. It looks to me like the main difference is that we're just getting it seems like they're sweeping just wider.
It's more.
The
But here's what makes a
emphasis
sweeper.
of across instead of
It's a
down.
horizontal break.
Right.
Okay, and here is one, and I think one of the reasons why I think that because really last year I thought there were a crazy number, especially early in the season.
Hmm.
I thought as the season went on last year, you started seeing more depth again. And here's my theory behind this: is that the bats that they take up there, they're longer than they are thick.
Mm,
If I can get something to drop this much, I can get below the bat. I have to get some real lateral movement
yeah.
to actually get off the end of the bat. And then all of a sudden, now you're throwing the ball so far off the plate that it's not even a pitch that a hitter's gonna offer at. Now,
Right. And
there
it does
are a
make
few
sense.
pitchers out there that will throw, cutter, sweeper, curveball, but most of the time,
Hmm.
um, and I guess it's done by a computer.
Yeah, I
All
think
the pitch tracking is.
automatic. Yeah, the pitch tracking.
Um, but whatever.
It's all a breaking ball to me,
Yeah.
right? I will say that the biggest thing with a sweeper that makes me nervous whenever I see someone throw it is that if you make a mistake with a pitch that drops,
You have a
oftentimes
chance.
you got
Yeah.
a good chance. You make a mistake with a pitch that breaks horizontally across the plate,
Yeah.
that's trouble.
Well, here's the problem. Anytime a ball is breaking horizontally, okay, it is also slightly dropping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the reason that is an issue is because when a hitter swings and misses at a pitch, usually even breaking balls also,
Mm-hmm.
they're usually swinging underneath the ball, especially if it's a pitch that is in the strike zone. And here's the problem with, and that's why I like curveballs over sliders,
Mm-hmm.
is because I want more horizontal break. I want more speed differential off the fastball. And because the reason is if I throw something that is, a little softer than my fastball and has a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of vertical break, not a lot of vertical break, I may be throwing the ball right into bat path because most hitters are underneath the ball. That's why you need either more vertical break or no vertical break at all, and that's the four seam fastball.
Right. Well, that makes total sense. I just watching the sweeper always it truly makes me nervous because I feel like at any moment they're going to
You
break that
hang
thing
it,
off,
it
and
can
it's
go a long way.
right.
Even if you put it on the plate, because
Right.
since it doesn't have, it's not going through. It's not going through horizontal planes. It's
Right.
not a vertical breaking ball. I mean, I just think there's more contact there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely wouldn't throw into someone like Jose Altuve who can hit literally anything, no
Right.
matter where it is. It could be within 4 feet of the plate, and he'd go out there and take it. One thing we should touch on is the All Star game is coming up.
Hmm.
We're getting ready for the Midsummer Classic, as they like to call it, and there's the Astros have some guys who are legitimately in contention to be on
Oh,
this All Star
sure.
team without question. Um, I mean, the first right off the top of my head, we obviously it is going to be Jeremy Pena. He has been playing spectacular shortstop. He's the best hitter on the team in terms of consistency. He's added some power again this year. But I mean, who do you see as being the guys that are on your list? I mean, Hunter Brown certainly could be on
Yeah.
that list.
Well,
Josh
Jeremy,
Hader.
I think Jeremy is probably the best chance for the Astros to have a position player.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in the starting lineup. I haven't
Right.
seen the votes. Still have some time before
Right.
that really even matters.
Yeah.
But he has been one of the best shortstops in all of baseball, much less just the American League.
Right.
I think Hunter Brown has a chance of being the starter. I mean, that's not just just being on the team. Same thing. How can you leave Josh Hader off when he has been a perfect closer for a first place team? The
Right.
Astros have some things that are going for them, which is they are in first place. They are the Astros. So, there's a lot of fanfare with all the success
Right.
that they've had over the years. You may have Paredes may have an outside shot.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Abreu has thrown the ball extremely well as a non-closer.
Right.
There are some other guys, but the Astros don't have a plethora of these guys. But they're going to be represented by. I'm going to say at least two,
Right.
maybe 3 to 4 on that team.
I'm looking right now. Just I pulled up the first initial one, and uh, Christian Walker's fifth in first base voting in the AL. Jose Altuve is third at second base, which is just
He's played 17 games,
yeah,
17, 18 games,
yeah,
which, you know what, now the voting, you got to remember, the voting is for the starters.
right, exactly,
Okay. That's not the whole team. So
right.
a lot of times that's a popularity contest.
Of
So
course
Jose
it is.
Altuve, is listed as a second baseman. Okay. That's fine. So you're
Right.
going to get votes. I remember years and years ago, Rafael Palmeiro was the American League representative at first base, and he had played one game at first base. Opening day that put him on the All-Star roster or the All-Star
Unbelievable.
ballot, and he didn't play first base the whole first half.
Yeah, these kind of things like Jeremy Pena's third on the shortstop list behind Jacob Wilson of the A's, who's been very, very good this year,
Very good.
and
Yeah.
Bobby Witt, who of course is spectacular.
Mm.
Isaac Paredes is fifth on the third base list. Nobody in the outfield. Yainer Diaz not on the catching list. But Yordan Alvarez is fourth on DH because, well,
Another
popularity
popular.
contest.
But
Hasn't
listen,
played, but
does Yainer deserve it? No.
no,
Does Jordan deserve it? No.
Mm-mm.
Really, does Altuve deserve it? No.
No.
But and that's where if they're not voted in,
Yeah,
they're probably not going to make it, and that's okay.
Totally.
Jose is a perennial all-star.
Yeah.
Jordan, perennial all-star. I mean, that doesn't mean you have to do it every single
Right.
solitary year. It just means that you haven't played as well as you have in the past in the first half of the season.
You think Fromber has a chance to get on the pitching
Farber
staff?
is in the conversation.
Yeah,
I
he's
think he
got to
is in
be.
the conversation. You have to see. We'd have to go through the list of
Hmm.
what else is around the league. But again, where what helps Fromber is he's pitched well in the past. He's been an
Yeah,
All Star in the past, and
right.
he's playing for a first place team that has been very good for the last decade.
Yeah, it definitely helps. Hunter Brown is the one to me that if you're picking anybody to say, like you said, could be the starter,
Yeah,
he's been lights out spectacular. And I can't imagine Josh Hader won't
I think
get
both
to
of those are probably pretty close to locks.
right. And then the other question is, does it really matter? If
No,
it,
it doesn't. Because to tell you the truth, I mean, listen, there's always a snub. There's always multiple
always
snubs, and it doesn't.
multiple.
They've already expanded the roster.
Hmm.
Then you're going to have multiple guys not want to play, so then you get to replace them
Always.
on the roster. So, I mean, you end up getting, you know, what is it, 35 or 36 all stars on each team, which is fine. Whatever. It
Yeah,
doesn't. It
whatever.
doesn't matter. At least it doesn't count anymore.
Exactly. It's for the fans. I mean, that's the thing. It's for the
Right.
fans. It's a
And
chance.
to tell you the truth, I mean, Jose has done this that, okay, you know what? Thank you very much for voting me in, but I
Right.
ain't playing,
Well,
because you can use the time off.
I think, to me, that one of the things that I've always thought about All Star games is they seem like they're much better to attend than they are to for any other reason. Like if you're a kid and you can go to an All Star game and you can get an autograph
Yeah.
and you can whatever, that seems to me like the real sort of fun aspect of the All Star game. Other than that, like, yeah, whatever.
Well, I mean, you watch it on TV. Home run derby always takes too long. You know,
Way too long.
you're all excited at the beginning, and then 3.5 hours in, you're like, these guys are still swinging.
I
And
think
then
instead
and
of
then
number,
the game itself,
yeah,
it's okay.
it's fine.
It
I think instead of number of home runs, they should start measuring for distance. I think that would be the long home run contest,
have a second category.
like a long drive contest, like they have in
Right.
golf. Like
Right.
do that, have a long home run contest, because then the thing is too, if guys didn't have to swing as many home runs, and they're just
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm just going to try to hammer the hell out of these.
And they have changed the format. I
Yeah,
know several years
you
ago, I
have to.
mean, it would take 4.5
Oh,
hours. And guys, we saw guys go into slumps afterwards. Shohei was
yeah,
one of the guys, won the home run contest, the home run derby, and then
right.
couldn't do anything. Josh Hamilton,
Yeah,
years and years ago, remember, had the record setting home
yes,
run derby,
that's right.
and
Then just fell off a cliff.
he couldn't pick up his arms for 3 weeks after that. So,
God.
you know, it's one of those things. But and to tell you the truth, with those examples like that, they have a tough time finding guys to do
Yeah, of
the home run
course.
derby now.
I mean, it's tough to get. Look, when you
It's
talk about
exhausting. It's
well,
exhausting.
well, when you talk about these things too, I mean, let's be fair. The All Star Game, never mind, doesn't have quite the luster it probably did once, but also there's not the money. I mean, it used
Yeah.
to be when you played an All Star Game years and years ago, it's probably a pretty nice bonus for guys.
Well, it's got to be.
Now,
To tell you the truth, it's just got to be in your contract. I
right?
mean, the one, I had, and it's something my agents did every year. I always had an all-star bonus in my contract, and there was one year I actually did make the all-star team and got that
Nice.
bonus.
Must have been
Now,
nice.
fly everybody out to Seattle, parents and everything. That money went away very quickly,
I was gonna
but.
say
Yeah, for most guys, that's kind of just a shoe in. It's just kind of thrown in there.
that's a getting an All Star. That's cool though. That's a cool thing to be able to. I
It
mean,
was a whirlwind, and we can talk about
yeah.
this when we get closer to the All Star game.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to hear your
That I
stories
have
about
I
it.
have stories about it, so that's we'll tease that for another pod.
Absolutely, let's do that. So the Astros next couple of weeks, interestingly enough, a lot of tough National League competition.
Yeah,
They're going to face the Phillies first. They're going to face the Cubs, and then they're going to go to LA and play at Chavez Ravine, play against the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium. Really interesting that they had this lineup of nationally, and they're playing the Rockies in the middle of all that.
yeah,
So
right.
it's a yeah, the Rockies unbelievably bad, but when we look at that, that's 4 series in a row, all in the National League,
Yeah,
which is really interesting. and all of them, with the exception of the Rockies, being against really solid teams. I mean,
Yeah.
Cubs leading the division, Dodgers leading the division, Phillies in second.
Yeah.
So it's,
Well,
it's going to be a tough stretch.
it's not about who you play; it's when you play them.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point.
the Astros running into the Phillies at this time, they have not been playing great baseball.
No, they have not.
So that bodes well. The Cubs are the Cubs, and yes,
Mhm.
they're in first place. They have swung the bat very, very well, so they're going to have to pitch well. And then the Dodgers. If you could have run into the Dodgers earlier into the
Yeah,
season, okay,
exactly.
great. But the Dodgers pitching staff is not where they want it now. They've got a great offense, and they're still the Dodgers.
Right. Well,
But yeah,
Phillies and Cubs are
I
both.
don't look at any of those series and say, okay, the Astros just have no chance. I think they
Oh
have a
no,
chance in all those.
absolutely not. And especially the Phillies and Cubs are both at Dyken Park,
Yeah,
where the Astros are
have been
quite good.
very good this year. Yeah.
Yeah, quite good. Which is a difference from years past where they tended to be better on the road.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be interesting to see where the pitching matchups lie in this.
Mhm.
Because boy, what would be amazing, what would be absolutely spectacular, would be a Hunter Brown Shohei Ohtani matchup. Like, just
Yeah.
give me that one. Give me that. That was like, get that happening at
No
any
doubt.
point. I will take it. I will
Hunter
take it over.
Brown, Zach Wheeler.
Oh, another good one.
Yeah.
Another good one. There's some look.
Those are low scoring baseball games, to say the least.
Yes. And let me tell you something. One of the things that I think is we are lucky because in this year where we weren't sure what pitching we were going to get, we're seeing a legitimate budding ace in Hunter Brown. I mean,
Oh, no doubt.
when he goes out on the mound, it's as good as going out there and watching Justin Verlander throw.
No doubt. I mean, and we haven't. I don't know if we've had this discussion about aces. I am very
Yes, we have
fickle
talked
about the
that.
term.
I know
aces.
you are. I know
He is
you are.
not there yet, but he
Right.
is getting there.
He's
And
getting there.
because ace isn't just someone that pitches well for a short period of time. You got to do it over. My opinion, you got to do it over years. But
I agree.
he has gone well past the 1 year mark from the horrible start he had last year, and he's been arguably the best pitcher on the planet since that time, which was what was it, mid-May last year?
Yeah, mid-May last year when he came back. Also, Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks. I still thought I'd throw that in there.
There you go.
I mean, if they're looking to sponsor a podcast.
Hey, and you even did it politically correct. You said folks. You didn't.
Well, that's
say
what
Matt.
they say. That's what they say. That's what they say on the commercials.
That's when we started going down that rabbit hole. Is when Ace Hardware went from the hardware man to the hardware folks.
Hey, listen, the Ace Hardware that's over in the Heights, believe me, they have folks. It's not. It's not just dudes. They have folks for sure. Also, by the way, very underrated place to go for gardening stuff. Just gonna.
Oh yes, I like Ace Hardware.
If you're like my wife and I, we're not like green thumbs or anything, but we do have plant stuff in our yard and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you can't find that stuff, go into a little hardware store. The one on 11th Street over there, they have some.
There you go.
Like,
look at you trying to get a discount next time in.
No, I'm saying paid for just sponsor the podcast. So you don't have to give me a discount.
That's it. Nothing else.
That's all I'm asking.
Nothing else.
I am going to be out of town next week. I'm going to be on vacation with the family. So we will be back in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Hopefully the Astros will have plenty of wins. Right now, my brother-in-law and I are just trying to finagle ways to grab the Astros TV broadcast while we're down there. Let's just say it'll probably involve some renegade IP addresses and perhaps some marginally questionable behavior.
You may have to sign on to MLB.TV or something like that.
Perhaps. Or, the other thing is we're 2 doors down from the Wana, one of the better beach clubs in all of the state of Texas. My guess is they'll have the Astros on. So having a cool afternoon beverage and watching the game might be a good one. So
we'll just go check on the score.
We'll be back shortly. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us as always. And we will talk to you in a couple of weeks. And between now and then, go Astros.
Adios.